to InTheStrengthCheckPodcast.com, home of all things hobbies, music, gaming, and mental health. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today. It's been a while since I've done an unboxing video, and it is, at least in Australia, Thursday today, which means it's hashtag Tabletop Thursday at ISC. One of the things you'll learn about me if you follow the blog with any regularity is, for some reason, I like puns and alliteration for titles. And whilst we've had some content up today, including an interview with Dave Shivari from the legendary nu metal band El Nino, I figured, you know what, it's Tabletop Thursday. Why don't we do something special? So this is going to be pretty freeform. I don't have a script, so you'll hear a lot of ums and ahs. I just wanted to flag too that if you're looking at this video as a means of gaining information about the lore, the setting behind Battletech, this ain't it. But in the accompanying blog post that will be attached to the video link on YouTube, you will find some great primers. Sana.net is a great resource. The purpose of it today is literally just to go through and see what's in the box, because with my Kickstarter pledge from Catalyst Gaming, now this was a project that was slated for launch, shipping around August 2023, but like many other independent, third party, and pretty much everyone up to what's even themselves down, have been suffering a little bit from the supply chain and logistics, just absolute finagle, and production, manufacturing, all that sort of stuff. These kinds of things, they're a multi-stage process. You've obviously got factories to do the casts, the plastic or metal casts. You've got to get the packaging, yada yada yada. So been patiently waiting on this one for a good couple of years now. So what I'm going to do right now is see what's in here. Now what I'll do is I'll just give a bit of a brief description as per what's on the cards in here. So some of these minis come with cards with playable, I guess, characters from the lore, from the fiction. Being the Battletech Mercenaries Kickstarter, unsurprisingly, they will be mercenary based, which is great because for me, in terms of my kind of how I grok the lore, I've always been more of a fan of the mercenary element of Battletech lore. And again, not going into the full details of the great houses of the inner sphere and that sort of thing, but one of my things with wargaming is I just never, I'm too oppositional defiant. Call it my neurodivergent brain, call me just being a little feral bastard, but one of the two. But I've never found myself feeling comfortable with the whole trope of I must side with this faction because sunk cost fallacy and I spent $500 at Games Workshop, therefore X is my jam. Thankfully this isn't affiliated with Games Workshop because I wouldn't have been able to afford it. So I can't remember the name of the tier that I backed, but it's got quite a lot in it, and I think one of the first things I'll do is we'll go over the core box, because this actually has its own packaging, which is very nice packaging. So I'm just going to be a shameless lazy guy right now and just rifle off what's on the back. Ready for hire. Whether wet behind the ears recruits or grizzled veterans, mercenaries are the wild card that can tip the balance in combat. Hang on a minute. Let's we gotta put a voice on for this, make it special, make it entertaining. I'm going to do, it sounds like Stan's dad from American Dad, but it's meant to be an epic trailer guy voice. These mech warriors run the razor's edge between immortality and destruction, and possess the elite skills and the right amount of luck to snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. There are literally hundreds of mercenary outfits found on nearly every battlefield across the inner sphere and beyond. Some are elite, multi-regiment combat commands with centuries-old legacies, while others are down on their luck lances that scratch out a living on backwater worlds. Will you join an existing unit, or try to carve out your own place in the universe. The Mercenaries box includes 8 high-quality, fully assembled battle mechs, along with 4 vehicles of the same quality. It also includes a primer on the Battletech universe, rulebook, punch-out tokens, game maps, pilot cards, and battlefield support cards. Fully revised battlefield support rules offer quick and easy ways to bring the flavour of combined armed tactics, vehicles, aerospace strikes, artillery, and minefields to your tabletop without slowing down the action. Finally, the box includes a campaign allowing you to build your own mercenary experience in any Battletech era, which, so for me, that's very, very, very welcome. As you can't see my Battletech shelf of shame. I call it the shelf of shame because no one's playing it with me. Hint. This bad boy. Total Warfare. So this is the classic Battletech rule set for things like combined arms. So typically Battletech is a mech on mech game, but with it is that small font throughout, and it is 285 plus pages. And boy howdy, as someone who is a bit averse to crunch, Total War is crunch overload. I know I haven't even talked about things like advanced operations, tactical operations, all that sort of stuff. That's a level of number crunching that just blows my brain apart. So I have had a look in the core box, and we will go through it in short order, but I do want to say I really relish and am looking forward to the fact that Catalyst are looking to streamline the game without taking too much essence out of the classic version. You've got a classic Battletech, which can be quite number crunchy, but really at the end of the day, the crunching mostly amounts to rolling on a fair bit of tables and penciling things in. So it's still accessible to maths deficient idiots like myself. There's also an Alpha Strike version, which is the simplified version. So on the back of all these boxes, there's some Alpha Strike cards. So I can tell that Catalyst Gaming Labs are really pushing the Alpha Strike angle, which I think's great because in practice, the classic version, I really like the very, very simulationist kind of crunch of it. You can get some really cool emergent kind of gameplay narrative things happening every single time, just with the amount of stuff that you can do with or to mechs in the classic rules. But once you start adding on more and more things, and especially things like, so there's the Battle Mech Manual, which contains like basically the rule set for mech versus mech warfare. Then Total War that I just showed you before, that's combined arms. So that's things like infantry, elementals, which are, I guess you can say power suits. Yeah, anyway, that's a whole thing. Air support, there's an entire book for aerospace. It's a mess. I haven't even bought it. I'm not even going to look at it. Apparently, Catalyst are looking at rejigging that rule set entirely, so I might hold off on that because I took one look at aerospace rules and went, no. So, yes. So, without further ado, and this is going to be a bit weird because I have my screen over here. I've got a webcam there and my mic here, so I may go in and out of range here, but let's... mystical moment. I'm sorry, I'm weird like that. The new plastic smell. Oh, fuck yeah. Oh yeah, there will be swears. Not a family-friendly podcast. So this is the essential set as you see it straight out of the box. So you can see there that you've got your 8 mechs, and I've had a look at the molds. There's not any, I don't really need to go over it with a hobby knife or anything like that. I am very excited to, I'd say that I'm very excited to paint these up, but the truth be told is I backed Clan Invasion fairly decently a few years back, and I kind of have a Battletech shelf of shame with about 10 to 12 mechs base coated, and that's it. Because I didn't realize how much more work minis painting is as a new hobby to enter into. Typical experience of pretty much anyone that gets into a new hobby. You see the intermediate, advanced end of things, videos about it, and you think, how hard can it be? It's harder than it looks, and hopefully the focus on this webcam holds up, but as you can see, hopefully, that's really not doing it justice. But if you can see close enough, there is a pretty good level of detail on these bad boys.
Hello, I'm a battle mech. I would like to kill someone, would you please?
Anyway, what I'm excited about, and for a 36-year-old man to get excited about little plastic toys, make up your own conclusion about that. Then again, I'm probably statistically the average or even young for the player base, because Battletech has been going for 40 years and we don't give a shit about what people think about toys. So that is the mold of one of the ground support units. You've also got here a number of Mech Warrior cards. So each of these comes with, so basically with each of the mechs. So for instance, you've got some numbers up the top there. That's your gunnery and your piloting skills. So that's kind of like that's obviously a roll that you'll need to make at certain points, and it affects your base roll. Again, I won't get too wrapped up in the rules here. There's plenty of videos for that. That's what those numbers are up the top there. We're doing this with a webcam, USB webcam, so it's not the greatest quality. But for instance, they've got ranks and affiliations on here. So that one that I showed you before, Cavalry Amano, rank of Shosha, affiliation with House Kurita. Got my own thoughts on House Kurita, but we'll leave that for another time. 7th Legion of Vega unit, and the battle mech is the Ostol, which is included in this box. So already you've got individualized Mech Warrior units which fit nicely into either a Mercenaries or just a stand-up game. There's a bit of lore on each one, but also there's special pilot abilities, which those come in handy with the Alpha Strike version of things. There are some rules to work that around into Classic as well. There's a whole big battlefield support deck in here. I actually picked up a spare, although I believe this might have been included. Yeah, it says this deck is for use by one side in a scenario. So this is the revised version. They had an original version, and I believe there was something that was missing. And again, I'm doing this all freeform off the top of my head, but that's the revised support deck. So this is for things like calling in airstrikes, calling in reinforcements, resupplying, ammunition, all that kind of stuff. As I'll get to when we get further into the box, there's a really good table that, again, I haven't field tested this. Because again, I'm out here in the arse end of nowhere and whoop whoop, and you haven't found a game, haven't found a group yet. But I'll get to why that might not be an issue too in a minute as well. So there's an entire deck of cards. Now this is what I'm stoked about, because with Total Warfare and even the we've got up here, interrupting my own video. I have the Commander's Edition of Alpha Strike. Now that has some stats for things like tanks, planes, that sort of thing. What I like about decks, especially when they're as comprehensive, like look at the amount, is that it just prevents unnecessary book flipping at the table, at the game. It helps you just have a nice quick visual reference there. You know, you've got things like your range, your movement points, which it's an emplacement, so funnily enough, you can't move, skill, damage, checks, all that kind of thing. Got some kitsch dice in here. I think I've already lost something because I don't know where my Battletech faction dice went. Lol. that is the one I got because you know what? So that's for the Grey Death Legion, which is a pretty infamous canonical Battletech mercenary unit. It's funny reading the Grey Death Legion trilogy books because they were written in the 80s, 90s, and bro has a sweet mullet. And they actually describe it in the book. Anyway, that's a completely random aside. So, that's just the top layer because there's a few little more goodies in the box. So this is the delicious minis. Now, I haven't decided what to paint these up as, and because I'm new to minis painting, I'm a bit reluctant. Now, I'll actually show you guys a couple of my tragic examples over here. So I was actually, before Mercenaries Kickstarter was ever even a thought, I actually have a few that I've painted up in black because I'm looking at doing up Natasha Kerensky's Black Widow company, possibly. Although now with the amount of minis and the amount of gear I got, I mean, look at my table, it's filling up. I may go in another direction. Haven't read this, but you also get, which is cool, in the Clan Invasion Kickstarter, we also got some novellas and other cool stuff. So that's a nice way to sort of like immerse yourself in the universe. And it's even got pictures, yay! Colouring in. So this is No One Left Behind from Michael J. Ciaravella. Again, I'm going to do silly narrator voice. Stars in his eyes. Daniel Stanton has one singular goal in life: to be a battle mech pilot, even if he's just part of a planetary militia. But when his simulator scores place him in the tank division, he takes to his local bar to drown his sorrows. That's where he meets Sergeant McHugh, a grizzled mercenary who's probably been fighting in mechs longer than Daniel's been alive. But McHugh doesn't just know about mercenaries and mech combat. He knows about people, too, including a very special person in Daniel's life. And what he tells Daniel in that bar will change his perspective and his life, ... forever. You've also got a wonderful little universe primer here. Now, these primers are really handy because there's a lot to the lore. Battletech is a series that is, I think, pushing 40 plus now. And there's a lot of different eras. So your earlier era, you've got Star League, followed by multiple succession wars, the Clan Invasion, Civil War. There's a Jihad. I might talk to that because I find it one of the funniest and most fun things about Battletech lore. And on that note, Battletech has enough lore that I feel like it warrants its own podcast episode where I go over that and maybe just have a look at some of my favorite things about the Battletech lore, some things that I don't necessarily grok with as well. But I digress. The other cool thing about these primer booklets is, so the inner sphere is essentially what you can think of as occupied space, kind of like the Imperium of Man in 40k. What I like about these is it shows, it's color coded, so you can actually see key factions and the changes to those over time, which is actually really handy, especially at the table. Like, this is, these sorts of things you kind of pull out and you go, primer, so what? But then you later go back and you're like, oh, that's actually really handy. And of course, it links into products and that sort of thing. You've got the Hinterlands hotspot, Combined Suns border there. And there's a bit of a spiel here about what also is useful about this one is if you're unfamiliar with some of the major mercenary groups, they got little pictures with icons and stuff. But it also describes several of the key players there. Now, if you're playing Classic, this is one of the key things where Classic diverts from Alpha Strike, which is the newer kind of quick play version. That is your average battle mech record sheet. So you can think of that as your character sheet. Now, again, this webcam isn't the greatest, but you can see that there's quite a lot on there. Just have a look at how much is in the crit table. But the good thing is that pretty much everything on this sheet, you have to do a little bit of math to work out things like your ranges, that kind of thing, on the hexes, or if you're playing Alpha Strike, just using a ruler. But the crit table, the heat table, they speak for themselves. And yeah, so it's a pretty imposing looking sheet, but as soon as you've played a game or two and or had the classic rules explained to you, until you're getting into very roundabout edge case things, I actually was surprised, especially for me. We're talking about someone here, myself, who I abstained from playing any tabletop games for nearly 20 years because a friend's brother tried to show me D&D 3.5, whatever it was, early 2000s, 2001-ish, and I think I told him, like, I actually said, fuck off. Like, I was a bratty teenager, and I was like, what is this? This is just Excel. Like, I'm just going to play a video game. So I find it funny that someone who is allergic to maths and just doesn't like number crunching, then I end up with something like Battletech. But I guess that also speaks to it being, yeah, there's a lot of rules, but it's accessible. So you've got everything on there. You've got your loadouts, yada, yada, yada. So with each of these record sheets, these are actually individualized variants. So you'll have multiple variants for each of the mechs that are included in the box set, which is really nice because, number one, you don't have to go through Battle Mech Manual and go to dice hell, although a lot of people enjoy that. Not so much my thing. But you can have a quick look at these and just have a look at the loadouts. So, for instance, the Firefly, that is, you've got one that has anti-missile systems, medium pulse lasers, and the other one has a Guardian suite and a Flamer. So you can mix and match, which is nice if you just like, what kind of style do I want to play with this one? Different point values, all that sort of thing. Poster. Guess I'll try and unveil this one. Holy. Okay, that is impressive. So that is a map of the inner sphere with every single goddamn location in it. All those funny symbols around the outside are the different clans. That's 3058, so that's around clan invasion era. And what also is actually really handy is 3151. So this is essentially where we're up to in the lore. I'm going to have to post that one up somewhere. Running out of space. So that's also handy as a visual reference. So what I like about the Mercenaries Kickstarter is it's clear already that they're investing a lot more in investing new players, because this is geared at new players and obviously returning players alike, but there's a lot of tools here for getting you more immersed in the setting, even by a specific location. This is cool as well. So with the combined arms rules, you're looking at things like you actually need to, if you're infantry, you need to restore your ammo. So there's ammo containers, there's extra tokens for heavy emplacements, that kind of thing. What I like about that is they're essentially giving you, hey man, look, we've only got X in here. You're probably going to want to be playing a company on company battle, right? Okay, well, instead of forcing down your throat for you to be deprived from the start, we're going to give you a whole bunch of stuff. It's paper, they're tokens, so it's nothing too flash. You will have to go out and buy the packs if you want the nice minis. But I really appreciate how much, especially, is in this. Like, there is a lot just on that one cutout board. And then you've got an entire other one with different emplacements, machine gun nests, different support vehicles, different types of infantry and foot soldiers. Like, I'm pretty stoked just looking at this again, I did have a peek before. Now, what else is very, very, very useful is they've got an entire table here of support strikes. So you, in a nutshell, much like how you're spending points for a standing army like you would in any other skirmish war game like Warhammer or whatnot, every battle mech has a point value, but so do these combined arms. But you can also do a bunch of stuff, and goddamn, this webcam, that rhymed. But what you've got on here is scatter diagrams. So for things like when you're doing bombing runs, so you can do bombing runs, airstrikes, that sort of thing. It actually gives you the number of hexes and the d6. So again, it just cuts out one little step of visualizing. And also, this is going to be so goddamn handy for so many people. It's all of the battlefield support strike values in one. Now, in both the Battle Mech manual, the one that I showed you, I showed you the Alpha Strike Commanders edition. I've also got the Battle Mech manual up there. Both of them, even though they were designed to be more streamlined than Total War, it's still a pain in the ass to get to and from. So having that here, and again, we can tell that this is, a lot of this is designed for, there's not 50 mechs, etc., etc. This is a great set for 2 to 4, whatever, people to all crack it out, and you can pass it around among you. And it's good for idiots like me who just constantly need the visual reference. There's even a massive support building. Now this is cutting out huge sections of the Battle Mech manual, the Alpha Strike Commanders edition, Total War. I mean, you might need to go in and do some finagling around, wait, what, this, that, huh? But that's really handy. So Galleon-like tank, hover tanks, you've got heaps of stuff on there, pattern tanks, PPC carriers, missile boats, all sorts of stuff. Fantastic. And, of course, all the ones they're referencing right here on your cards. So I really like thematically the idea of playing combined arms. Number one, because it makes more sense. Like, why would empires and companies engaging in total war just field just a couple of mechs and call it a day? No, you would have things like gunboats and mortars and, as glass cannon as they are, you would think that the most effective way to, I guess, optimally invade or what have you, being a war game, is not just having one mech with only so much mobility range. You'd want supporting units around it. As a mercenary company, you're thematically less likely to be able to afford things like battle mechs. And it actually, in the campaign book, which we'll get into in a second, it actually has the costs and that sort of thing, which is also up there in campaign ops. But Catalyst, that book needs a rework, man. It's anyway, very comprehensive, very good book, but oh boy, there's a reason campaigns in Battletech sometimes called account tech. Anyway, that's mine. You've got a laminated mercenary record sheet, always good when it's laminated, right? Go over it with dry erase. So you can fill in all your basic details, formation type, unit, mech warrior. So again, this has been designed to scale. It's been designed for you to have multiple formations of multiple units. You could be bookkeeping quite a bit if you're playing a large enough game or series of games. And this is adorable, by the way. This is so cute. I don't know why it's cute, but it is. This is also laminated, but it's a contract of mercenary employment, and it even has signatures. So you've got things like assignment forces, length of service, remuneration, support, all that fun stuff. But it's just cute. You're playing even if you're playing solo, which I think that I may do now, a little bit on that in a bit. And this, oh God, again, this is so handy. You've got all the steps for a campaign. You've got contract steps, so there's some negotiation involved. There's skill point, ability costs, all that sort of stuff. This makes running a campaign, whether it's just a whatever, or if it's a chaos campaign, like, which is kind of a series of pitch battles on a track. We'll get to that in a sec. I just appreciate that they're taking a lot of that legwork out. And I know some people might go, well, I read that. Okay, all right, bro. But some of us have Swiss cheese hold brains, right? So just little things like that. And just the fact you've got something tactile here, you've got a sheet you can sign, you've got a record sheet. It makes it you feel a little bit more immersed. The rulebook. Now, you will need the core box, A Game of Armored Combat. If you're wanting to get into Battletech, you don't want to buy 5 different books. You don't have to. You can simply buy A Game of Armored Combat and this. But without the A Game of Armored Combat box, which is, you can get it for cheap these days, you might have a bit of a rough time, as not all of the rules are included. I'm not going to flip through every page here, but as you can see, like this from the get-go, it's oriented towards battlefield support. I have done one read through of this. I'm not going to sit here and read you a bedtime story from a Kickstarter, because it's probably boring for most people. But what I was mentioning before, Chaos Campaign. So what I really liked about the Chaos Campaign element of this is it gives you some tips, lots, pages and pages and pages of ideas for setting up campaigns. There's a lot actually involved with the Chaos Campaign if you want it to be. Things like you'll be having to... You're more than likely shit kickers. You'll actually incur expenses. You'll have maintenance costs, wages costs, that sort of thing. So going John Rambo in every battle, you might run the risk. It's a lot like, I don't know if you've watched this, if I'm predicating the assumption you're a Battletech fan. If you're not, if you've played either MechWarrior Mercenaries 5 or Mech Assault, or, well, particularly Battletech and MechWarrior 5, if you just go in hog wild and your mechs get torn to pieces blowing the other guys up, sometimes you can end up in such a bad financial spot that you end up in debt and kind of stuck and unable to proceed. And they've actually accounted, pun intended, for that in the rulebook. So there's so much in there. I think that I will do a separate review of just the Mercenaries rulebook and system, and at another point. But suffice to say, look, I'm really breezing over a lot here, but it's already been 35 minutes and we haven't even got to the secrets yet. Bunch of maps. Now these, yet again, broken record. Turn the light on. Whoop, maybe not. Again, webcam doesn't do it justice, but these are actually like a nice finish, and they're quite glossy, and they're pretty big in terms of playing area. Like, that's not insubstantial, and they're designed to be played side to side. So you can imagine this spread out over, say, most of this table, which is a big table. So that is in essence the core box, and I don't want to keep you too long for what is basically the world's worst and most roughly edited unboxing video. I don't have transition over here and all those kinds of awesome effects, but I feel like that's not really expected within the tabletop community so much. There's a lot of us just kind of, a lot of content creators in this space. We just hang out and talk. So now for some big reveals. So I love that it's not, I mean, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon cards in the loot boxing is something that has been done by publishers and developers of board games and tabletops for time immemorial. It long predates gaming loot boxing. But we're going to see what's in each one. What I would like to hear from anyone who is a Battletech fan, I will be obviously within future write-ups. I plan on writing up a lot of stuff about Battletech now that I've got this. I'd love to hear from you. What are your favorites from this? What are your opinions on each of these mechs? I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I would say that I am intermediate in terms of my involvement in Battletech and the community. Beginner in terms of how much I understand the rules. I don't think that'll ever change, but yeah. Let's see what's in the first one. Now, I've taken the thing about Catalyst is they love to pack these so securely that you can end up ripping them. First up, we have nothing. No, joking. First up, we have Savannah Master. So the Savannah Master is kind of a meme in the Battletech community just because you can absolutely swarm with these guys. And they've been known, Savannah Masters, that some people will just buy, so with your point buy system, they'll just buy dozens of these freaking things and just swamp mechs, and people get mad, and it's kind of funny. Interesting that these aren't on the base. I guess that's also for like kit bashing purposes, that kind of thing. So that's the first one, which wasn't a surprise because it said it on the box. Now, this is our first rando. As you can see, I've already, it's like a kid who, you know, basically tries to worm his way out of talking to the parents, being like, I didn't touch it, and it's very clear the box is frayed. I haven't looked at this yet, but I did try to get these kind of like half open beforehand. So let's see what's in the first rando box, shall we? We have I've already got a few of these, and that's the thing with these booster packs. We have Rickard, Galaxy Commander of the Free Worlds League under unit Shiva Keshik with Shadowhawk IIC. I've got a few Shadowhawks already. That's fine. Yeah, it's you again. I might have to take some photos for the blog version because these aren't coming out too great on the webcam, are they? But that is your Alpha Strike card. As you can tell, compared to the Battletech Classic character sheet, it's a lot more stripped down. So this one, its role is a striker. Special, it has Case, C-A-S-E. Okie doke. So that's the first one, Shadowhawk, which I've already got. If anyone wants to do a minis trade, I'm open. Okay. This one has not been opened. Ooh, it hasn't even, the plastic hasn't even gone off. And watch me break a box live in real time. The other thing is, because these are so securely packaged, yeah, stuff it. Did you already open that one? No. I got a lot of random, you get a lot of randos with your pledge. Kickstarter, because these all came with my pledge. Ooh, we got a big fella. We have Shunville, rank Star Captain, affiliation Clan Sea Fox, unit Fox Carnet, and this is the Phoenix Hawk IIC. Again, one I already possess, but I don't mind because Phoenix Hawk is badass. Like, you can even tell in the difference between the casts. Look at that pose on that guy, and he's all guns, and that is a solid mech. I mean, he's got gun titties, gun nipples. Like, come on, man. And gendering neutral robots, but yeah. So again, the cool thing about the boxes is you get a bunch of cards with, you don't just get one card, you get a few variants that you can play in Alpha Strike, and those can be converted with classic rules and that kind of thing. So again, I'm just at the risk of embarrassing myself. You know what? Maybe I'll pause this for a second. I'm glad I paused that because I had a small tantrum trying to get it open. So, what have we got in? This is the third out of 4 random mech boxes. Oh, I've never had an Ostrock before. So, this is the pilot of this one. Ooh. Nice little medium mech there. Is Michi Noketsuna, rank Tai of House Kurita, again House Kurita, unit Ryukini. The battle mech is the Ostor. You can't really see it yet again on my webcam, but the other handy part is that the individual pilots' paint schemes, of which there's multiple, are on the cards. So that helps if you're someone like me that goes, I don't want to paint everything green and gold. I know Jade Falcon are basically the Aussies of Battletech clan lore. I mean, they're crazy enough, but green and gold for everything? So, you get some more individual choice too. And this one is empty. Where did I put this one? So, I've played with this more than I thought. Pretty sure it's over here. Mech down. That's funny. I believe it is in another room. So you'll find out. That's a nice plug, actually. If you want to find out what the other mech is that I've totally lost, you can go to innerstrengthcheckpodcast.com. Improv. Now this is basically pièce de résistance. Big old MF Timberwolf. The big guy. The gun. The classic. You know it. You love it. The face of Battletech. And it's a big one. I'm definitely going to play that at the table to troll someone at some stage. It's not going to happen. No one will let that on the table. Look at the size of that chonker. I'm going to have to paint that. That is a solid accoutrement to anybody's desk. I hope that there are plenty of people painting that bad boy up and putting it on the desk at work, and then feeling slightly self-conscious as they sit there and recant what Battletech is and where it's from to normies. Good luck with that. Massive poster, also with point value costs and some thematic stuff. I still haven't put up my posters from the clan invasion. They're meant to be up, but hey, I'm a millennial, I'm a renter, ergo posters are a bit ugh for me. So that was my very roughshod flip through the Battletech Mercenaries Kickstarter box. So from here, there's a few things that I want to flag in terms of future content. I'm actually looking at playing either a solo game and or even a solo mini campaign. There is someone on Reddit who has made a fantastic AI, and we're not talking ChatGPT here, just like a decision tree for people to be able to play solo or co-op. That is called Brymm's OpFor, and you can Brymm. You can search for that just on Google. It's also on Reddit, the original link. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I'll also put a link to the Kickstarter. I will put in links to a whole bunch of other stuff. What I will be doing is I've always wanted to do a Battletech lore podcast episode, exploring it in a deep dive, similar to the way that we have done with the Alien franchise. The thing is that it's an impenetrably deep and complex lore, and I haven't really gotten around to thinking about how to go around it, because doing a sort of primer introduction style, I think anyone can do that. So I'm just having a think about what my version of that might be. I'm leaning towards the factions, going through each of the factions, that sort of thing, and just noting the ones that are most interesting to me, or the ones that I prefer, but couching it within the context of the greater lore. There is a lot. I want to give a shout out to Catalyst Game Studios. I know you guys must have had... Guys, this project has been on hiatus. Not hiatus, but there's been a lot of delays with the production and that sort of thing. So I can't imagine the fan mail you guys have been getting. So I want to say congratulations to you guys, to Etherworks, who are in charge of the delivery, the fulfillment to Australia. Thank you. And to all of you Battletech fans, you can check out more Battletech content in future at innerstrengthcheckpodcast.com. Peace, love, and grindcore, as I always say. Or in this instance, peace, love, and stomping clan elementals to death with big, squishy mech boots. Ciao.
Get in the damn mech, Shinji. And by that, I don't mean an EVA. Head on over to innerstrengthcheckpodcast.com to check out our regimen of previous tabletop, gaming, hobby, and music-related content. And be sure to follow us via our various links for more clanner stompin' pew-pew fun.